talk about something like a study that is still at the beginning, and we're trying to see how it's possible to integrate a low cost or low energy system within a wastewater treatment plant. It's a study that is still at the beginning, and we're trying to move as slowly as we can to see how there could be an integration of a low-cost system into a wastewater treatment plant in order to reduce the energy and the cost in terms of treatment. Now, the topic, as you can see, is just about integrating a microalgae bioremediation system into a conventional wastewater treatment in order to treat the wastewater, mostly domestic wastewater, as well as produce energy, mostly in terms of fuels. But there could be something else like electricity, but we'll be looking at the biofuels after making the treatment of wastewater. Now, we all know that when we're dealing with wastewater, generally the load of contaminants can be high. Generally, we have a certain amount of contaminant, and the more we have huge amount of contaminant, the more the treatment cost will be higher. And effectively, we also know that the conventional treatment plant always requires a high amount of energy. Then there's a need, as we know, there always be a need to find an alternative approach that can help us to cut down in terms of energy that we're spending when it comes to wastewater treatment plant in a conventional plant. Now, definitely, with the high level of contaminants, this will make us, will require an expensive treatment and high amount of energy. Now, therefore, as I'm saying, there should be ways, and there've been quite a number of methods that have been used to find a way of optimizing and reducing the cost in terms of energy, more especially energy consumption in a wastewater treatment plant. But in this case, we're coming up with trying to see if algae bioremediation can be one of the options. Now, first and foremost, we all know why we treat wastewater. And in fact, wastewater is discarded water, and generally, if it's a domestic wastewater, it comes from the household. Reason being is just to be able to stabilize the contaminant or the pollutant in order to bring them to the level that is acceptable. And in that case, it means we need to reduce the biological oxygen demand and the chemical oxygen demand. Therefore, the contaminant will get to a point where they can be stabilized and no more being contaminated or pollutant, but they will get to a point of normalization to be in accord or compliant to the discharging standards. But it's not about only stabilizing the contaminant, it's also removing all the solid. That's one of the reasons as well. That means we remove all the contaminant, or we stabilize the contaminant, and we remove the solid. And in all those objectives, we're aiming to protect or to prevent the environmental damage, to protect or to promote the public health, and to promote the aquatic life and the human life. That's the reason why wastewater treatment is done, and especially for domestic wastewater, which is the case that we're talking about. What are the challenges? We all know, because most of us are dealing with wastewater. The biggest challenge when we're coming to conventional treatment wastewater, it's the generation of large amount of sludge. Generally, if it's when we're dealing with a municipal wastewater treatment plant, there will be definitely generation of large amount of sludge. Also, the plant itself doesn't adapt itself to the changes when it comes to change of temperature or the weather. It takes time. It can adapt, but it's not very quick and fast. Then that's also one of the weaknesses of the biggest or the big conventional wastewater treatment plant. But we also know that this high energy requirement, especially for aeration, and aeration accounts for 45 to 75% of the total cost. That's one thing that we know. But also, it requires maintenance, high operation and maintenance requirement, which is also a costly, it's also adding to the cost. This is a general wastewater treatment plant that we all know. We have the preliminary stage, which is made up with 1 and 2. We have this primary stage, which is made up with 3 and 4. And then we go to the secondary treatment, which should be obviously 5. And then the tertiary treatment, which should be 6. That's something that we know. But now we're talking about to integrate the algae or the bioremediation system using algae into the conventional system. Because we're talking about that, then we need first of all to define what is an algae. And we all know that an algae is a tiny cell, a very tiny cell that needs light to grow. It grows under photosynthetics. So photosynthetic conditions, meaning we need light, but it also needs nutrients. And the most known nutrient, the major nutrients are the nitrate, the phosphate, and also the oligo element like heavy metals as well, but in very small amount. But the major one are nitrate and phosphate. And as we know, domestic wastewater is very rich in terms of nitrate and phosphate. Therefore, if you take that tiny cell in an environment where you have more nitrate and phosphate, what's going to happen? That tiny cell will have a capacity of uptaking all the nutrient in order for it to grow. By doing so, it's cleaning up or it's remediating to the level of pollution of the wastewater that you have. That can happen on a small level. Now, that photosynthetic cell that grows between 16 and 30 degrees, that's the average temperature. There are some of them that can grow beyond, and there are also some that can grow under those temperatures, but we have less cases, and there are algae that can be adapted to those conditions. But the most important about the algae cell is it can produce oxygen because it's growing under photosynthetic conditions. It takes CO2, it takes the nutrient, and it takes the light, and then produce oxygen exactly as a plant, a normal vegetable plant. Now that's how the algae works. Then it's got a certain capacity of uptaking organics and inorganics for it to grow, as I've said before, with nitrate, phosphate, and oligo element. Now, the structure, when you take this, the structure of an algae, it's got, if you look at it on the microscope, it's got a structure of being a flattened structure. Why? Because it's allowing to maximize the surface area on which the minerals and the water and the sunlight will be reflected. Now, we have two types of algae. Two, in fact, generally, we have the microalgae, that's tiny cell, but if it's bigger, it's called macroalgae. There are different types of size, but I don't have the size. The literature is quite clear about it. And in fact, they can be grown in photobioreactors or in ponds. That's all about algae. Now, we also have to know one fact, that 50% of the oxygen on the planet comes from algae. That was found by the NASA, and it makes sense because 70% of the water that we have on the planet is, or 70% of the earth is made up with water, and for which 90% is made up with the marine world. And algae is found in the marine world. That's where oxygen is produced. Therefore, possibly this fact is quite reasonable because of the fact that the surface of the world is made up of more marine world. Therefore, we can generate more oxygen. While the algae is only representing 1%. Oh, sorry. It's only representing 1% of the total biomass on the earth. That was found by what am I saying again? It was found by NASA. Yeah. Let's get back to now how microalgae can operate. When you put that tiny cell in an environment where there is nutrient, algae operate in two ways. It can operate by absorption. First of all, it can operate by bioabsorption or by bioaccumulation. Now, bioabsorption can be done in two ways, either by absorption, which is done on the membrane of the cell itself, either by adsorption, which is a surface phenomenon. Now, then this bioabsorption is known as a passive process. It's a metabolic passive process which doesn't require energy. It means it's done naturally without anything, but it depends on the kinetic equilibrium and the composition of sorbent's cellular surface. Now, most of the contaminant will be either adsorbed when it comes to laying or lying on the surface of the oil, or when it comes to be absorbed by the membrane. That's when we're talking about the absorption. Now, the second mechanism by which algae grows and do the uptake fact is the bioaccumulation. comparing to the previous one, the bioaccumulation is an active metabolic process which is driven by energy, differently from the other one which was a passive. Then now both bioabsorption and bioaccumulation takes place naturally. They take place naturally in all living organisms, including the microalgae cells. It means even the microorganisms that we have in a conventional treatment plant for the activated sludge, whatever takes place is based also on this bioaccumulation and bioabsorption, most of the time. Yeah. Now, this is a picture or a drawing of an algae cell. As you can see, the algae cell is got a membrane, and you see that some nutrient and heavy metals will be resting on the membrane, and some will go in. Then that is done due to the bioabsorption and bioaccumulation. So those two mechanisms, they're taking place on the surface and also inside of the membrane. You can see, as I've said, in the inner cell, the nutrient will enter the inner cell, but there could be other nutrient that will remain on the wall of the cell, while other are entering the cell, due simply by bioabsorption and bioaccumulation. That was the summary. But now these are the types of strains that are used. They were used experimentally on the laboratory level, because I haven't seen a very large plant that using this type of species. Now most of these species have been able to remove quite a number or to reduce a number of parameters up to an efficiency of 98%. It can be less, but this was the maximum for quite a number of them. And the list is quite long. I don't want to focus on that. But why algae can be useful for wastewater treatment? It can be because, first of all, it's got the capacity to uptake more phosphate and more nitrate. Then it means when we're dealing with denitrification or nitrification when it comes to wastewater treatment, algae can be a very good partner that can help us to remove those kind of components quickly. But it's also removing organics and other inorganic contaminants, heavy metals, pathogens, even removing some molecules that are causing the color of effluent. Now, you can use textile wastewater, use algae to treat textile wastewater as well, possibly. But the main reason as well, apart from the uptake of the heavy metals, the organics, is also oxygen, as we said before. Now, these are a list of some examples of some types of species that have been removing some of the elements from wastewater. You don't have to focus on that. Quite a number of them. The spirulina, the Botrococcus, the Dunaliella, quite a number of them. Now, what is the advantage? The algae is very cost effective on a small level, low energy requirement, reduction of sludge formation, and the greenhouse gases are reduced as well, and the production of useful algal biomass that can be used for other applications. Now, let's get quickly to this kind of situation where we have a conventional treatment plant, especially when we're dealing with activated sludge system. We all know that in the activated sludge system, there's a primary effluent that will enter, and at the bottom of the aeration tank, we have a bed of microorganisms, and there will be aeration, then we'll have the mixed liquid, suspended solid, and then it will go for secondary clarification, and then get the effluent. Now, this is how it works, but the problem here, we know that this aeration, as I've said before, it's accounting for 45 to 75% of the total cost, energy cost. Now, instead, we can keep this model, which has been done for quite some time, but there's a possibility to integrate algae in this system so that we can reduce the dependence, the total dependence of this huge of energy that goes up to 45 to 75% in terms of the cost of energy. Now, what do we suggest? The suggestion from what we've done so far, from some small experiment, as I'm saying, I'm trying not to go too deeper and to throw through a lot of details because we're still moving. We know that the conventional treatment plant for wastewater treatment goes like this. With the primary treatment, we have a secondary, we have a tertiary, and you can get this one. Now, we can incorporate or we can integrate the algae at the level of the secondary treatment, because that way oxygen is produced. That way aeration is done. Then we can combine sometimes maybe half a day algae base can be working, and maybe during night hours where we don't have energy, the conventional system can run with the aeration. And if that can be done, there could be a cost that can be reduced in terms of oxygen use. But we still need to learn how to quantify the amount of oxygen that can be generated and to be able to supply the same amount of oxygen than in the case where the conventional system should work. That way some studies in terms of modeling and performance enhancement should be done at this level. Then in this study, we're suggesting that there's a possibility to incorporate or to integrate algae-based treatment into the secondary treatment and to alternate so that we save on the energy in terms of aeration. Now, this is how it will be working in the system. It means we have algae one side and we have the bacteria that we find in the activated sludge. Now, this is the water that enters. That water will definitely, the wastewater contains definitely some nutrient that will feed the algae, and we have the light, the solar light, and the CO2, and this one will make the algae growing. But when the algae is growing, the algae will produce oxygen that will be supplied to the bacteria that we find in our activated sludge system, so that the aeration system, which is made up with pumps, can be stopped by that time. Then bacteria being fed with oxygen can be able to do the biodegradation work in order to produce the reclaimed water. This is how it has to be, and this is summarized by this scheme, which shows the synergy that will be existing. It means we have the solar energy that is given to the algae. Algae will produce oxygen. Oxygen will feed the microorganisms, and there will be organic matter that is contained in the wastewater, and the macroorganisms will definitely synthesize new bacteria and synthesize some other product which will contain nitrogen and phosphate, which will feed the algae. And this system will be working like this in order to be able to maintain the sustainability between, or the synergy between algae and bacteria. That's the suggestion that we're trying to come with. But we're not saying that the algae treatment system is perfect. It's got quite a number of weaknesses, and those are the weaknesses on which we have to work on. First of all, it's totally depending on the temperature and the light. I mean, photosynthetically, algae need the light, and it needs a certain range of temperature for it to operate properly, for it to grow, for it to be able to uptake the contaminant. Now, if we have a system that is totally depending on temperature and light, we should find how we can deal with this situation. And therefore, if this is remaining, we'll see that algae bioremediation of wastewater will only be suitable for tropical countries. It means the countries where it's very cold, there's no species that will be allowed or will be able to do the bioremediation easily. But it can also conflict with disinfection. There's that kind of conflict between, we've noticed that when there's disinfection and algae, sometimes the conflict, possibly. Now, the harvesting of the biomass, because we're using algae, at a certain time we need to harvest the biomass. And the harvesting is still an expensive process. And there's also the risk of contamination if the culture is not well kept, and risk of depletion and gassing. Now, because we're dealing with the integration, definitely we're integrating the algae, the microalgae. We should be able to produce biomass